That's
reality.
Yeah.
The reality of your life, the reality of your body. This guy who is addicted to it, he takes it every day. He's also overweight, and he also drinks too much.
Right.
He's got issues, and so I don't think he likes to address those issues.
Right.
And so instead of addressing those issues, he says he has anxiety.
Man, there's certain things though that where anxiety is unavoidable, man. I just think there's certain times that emerge in your life where anxiety is not all. A lot of the time, it's an indication that you're fucking up.
Yes.
But sometimes it's just a natural reaction to
life itself.
Life, yeah, yeah.
Life itself, the inevitability of your demise. There's no getting around it. You know, the ruthlessness of the day-to-day grind can also give you anxiety. The idea that even though it's Friday and you're off of work, oh my God, I'm going to have to go back there on Monday, and I'm going to work 8 to 9 hours, whatever I have to do, including overtime, and then I'm going to do it again on Tuesday, and then on Wednesday, and then on Thursday, and then on Friday again, and then I'm going to get a little break again, and during that break, I got a lot of shit to do, so it's not really a break. And just that alone, as it accumulates over time, then you start to accumulate bills, and you start to accumulate responsibilities, social responsibilities, physical responsibilities, and the pressure of all that can freak you the fuck out, because it's a never-ending, just a line of ants that goes on for millions of miles. They're all tasks. Every ant that you see in front of you, every dot, just like a million pages, is all things you have to do, things you have to read, and it never ends.
Yeah.
If you have a job, a regular job, especially, that's one of the reasons why you should never, if you can avoid it, never have a job. I mean, if you need to have a job, get a job, but if you could find something that you love to do, you don't have a job. Then what you are is a lucky fuck.
Yeah.
And then what you have is a cool gig. You know, like whether if you're a comedian or a chef or a carpenter, something you love. You know, a guy who builds motorcycles, he loves it. He goes to work.
Programmer.
Yes, anybody who loves doing what they're doing. That truly is the key to this life. And everybody's is going to be different. Your love is going to be different than my love. You can't really judge. You can't judge what people like, what they don't like. You can judge what you like and don't like, but, you know, it's like music tastes or taste in food or anything. Things are weird. You know, things are weird and we vary wildly. But
yeah, I want to mention the idea that I've been thinking about of it's called a temporal peripheral vision. The temporal periphery. So like humans develop peripheral vision to deal with predators, so that if something to our side, we can see a predator coming, and so we have this kind of like side view that helps us out. It's a very important thing. Some animals don't have that. They can only look straight forward.
Right.
But we have we can see off to the side a little bit, and that's a super important evolutionary trait. Well, we also have the exact same thing in the sense of, but it's a temporal peripheral vision where we can think about the past and we can think about the future. And anxiety is always related to things that we're looking at in the temporal periphery. 9 times out of 10, if you come into the present moment, you won't feel anxious.
Yeah.
You could be sitting in a doctor's office about to go get your CAT scan, and if you could really pull yourself just into the moment and what's happening there, you'd be 90% less afraid.
Yeah.
But the moment you step past that sliver of the present moment, that light beam, and into the darkness of the future, that's where the anxiety pounds your fucking ass, man. It's like touching an electric fence. It's because things are always fine. If you really look at it, things are always fine. Up until the zombie rips your intestines out of your stomach, things are generally pretty okay. You know? That's the real conundrum, and I think that's the thing that is so perplexing about it being a human being is you know that you're carrying around with you the ultimate treasure, which is the present moment, but you can't stay in it. You don't have the discipline to stay there fully. You're always wandering off into the future, always wandering off into what you have to do, what's coming tomorrow, what's coming in the next few minutes. You know what I mean? It's so curious that right there in front of us is the ultimate Xanax.
Well, that's why the shallow feelings of materialism. You know, what is materialism? Well, it's fixating on objects to fill up your attention span. Fixating on them instead of all the other shit that you could be thinking about. Instead of designing your own personal philosophy for life. finding out what you like and don't like about your past behavior and incorporating it into the present, living in that moment, being aware of what's happening and managing it correctly. All that's too much. So you start thinking about the future. I'd love to have a house that's like 6,000 square feet. And I want to have 50 acres of land. I want to be on top of a mountain. And I want to have gun ports. You start
Gun ports.
You know what I'm saying? You start
Yeah.
thinking about shit because if those motherfuckers come, I'm going to be ready.
Yeah.
Instead of being right there in that moment. Or you start thinking about, what a piece of shit you were when you were a little kid and you used to yell at your mother. I mean, you can start thinking about weird shit and it can fill up your present. And it's part of being a human being is managing the thought that you hold on to, managing what you gravitate towards. It's so hard to do. If you just got fired from a job, it's very difficult to see the silver lining. You're like, shit, that feeling of getting just fucking kicked out of a job and someone doesn't want you working anymore, you're a failure, you failed. You're like, oh, God. It's so hard to go, come on, let's go out and have a good time. You don't want to have a good time. You feel fucking terrible.
Yeah.
Because it's also, there's a dance going on, a balancing act, if you will. And that balancing act is you got to learn from the fuck-ups. And the only way you really learn is to feel like shit. And it's best if you feel like shit for a while. Because then it really sinks in that you can't show up an hour late every day. You can't smell like whiskey after your lunch break. You can't yell at your boss because you gotta have a hangover and you're crabby that day. You can't do those things because you can get fired. And when you get fired, it fucking sucks. But every time I've ever gotten fired in my whole life where I fucked up and I got fired, I made like an evolutionary jump as a person after that.
Absolutely. Every stupid thing that I've ever done that's resulted in disaster has always made me a million times better.
And why is that? Because you have a terrible feeling and you don't want to have that feeling again. So it's forcing you to really focus on whatever the hell it is.
Well, it's something that you don't want to accept. You want you want the universe to be something that's more gentle or something that's more compassionate, but it really does seem like a huge portion of what makes people great is their ability to overcome internal difficulties or external difficulties and failure.
Yeah.
And that's something that when you're failing, it won't help you. When you're failing thinking like, oh, I guess this is helping me. I guess it does relieve some of the pain of the thing when you realize that you're in a kiln and the failure's the heat that's sort of transforming you into something.
Yeah, I think that the feelings are there. They serve like an evolutionary purpose or a purpose that's in line with progress, a purpose that's in line with moving forward and taking things to a next level, which is where we always feel at our best. I always find that one of the reasons why I try to do a lot of things at once is because I like figuring things out. I like when things get better. I like when a joke that I'm working on becomes better. I like when it grows and becomes real. I like when you write something down, then you add to it, and then it becomes better. I like getting better at a skill, like a martial art or a game. I love getting better at video games. It's a great feeling.
Yeah.
And if you're not getting better at things, if you don't have some sort of improvement and movement, if that's not the general trend that you find your life in, I find that I don't feel happy. I find that greatly affects my happiness. And I also find that's one of the most difficult things to achieve if and when you have a job that you don't enjoy. Because the majority of your time and focus during the day, they take all your best hours, man. You think about what a job is, a 9 to 5, they take the hours that you are the most awake, the most tuned in, the most aware, the most focused on the world. So if you want to figure out how to get out of your job, you got to take your weakest time. That's all they give you. They give you your time where you're the most tired and most likely to sit in front of the TV and the most likely to just have a beer.